What's going on YouTube? So there's a lot of talk about Obamacare, and now many people of his own party are starting to get ticked off. But those who were on the right, conservatives and libertarians, they understood why the prices would go up. Well, for those of you that, number one, are losing your insurance and don't know what's going on, here's the main reason that I knew that it would go up. First of all, when you artificially increase the demand of this service, healthcare, without increasing the supply, such as hospitals, you look at physicians, the prices are going to go up. There's no doubt about that. And we see that right now with insurance rates going up, or we see that in distortions in the marketplace where people are losing their healthcare. So that's the number one thing. So Obamacare did not fix the real problem of it. And the problem was not the free market. The problem was that there was too much government. And if you want to look at it, this dates back to the 1940s. Many people don't realize this. First of all, what happened in the 1940s, we fought World War II. This was the so-called Keynesian wet dream that got us out of the Depression. But during the Depression, the Federal Reserve kept interest rates artificially low, and since they kept interest rates artificially low, they created all this inflation. And the FDR administration did not want inflation to get out of control, so they instituted wage and price controls. Now, what does this have to do with insurance? Well, during that time frame, many people got insurance. Only, 1 to 2% of the population had health insurance. They used to pay in cash. Now, what happened was, this was a distortion in the marketplace now. The firms had to get top talent, and the way that they would get top talent is through fringe benefits, such as health insurance. So many firms started to offer that. And then the war started to end. This was in demand. A lot of people wanted this health insurance through the firms. So the government came in and they subsidized health insurance, right? And that totally screwed up the market. So employers now, they got these tax subsidies to give health care to their employees. So the problem with insurance is that it only works when there's a catastrophic illness. That's when it should be used, or if there's an accident. That's the purpose of insurance. It should not be used when you go to a doctor for a regular checkup. We use insurance for that. For markets to work efficiently, you need to, number one, have yourself deal with the hospital in terms of payment, not through a third-party vendor when it comes to insurance. And the purpose of insurance, which is a good vehicle, is only when the unthinkable happens. You get into a nasty accident, you fall down, or you unfortunately get a horrific disease. That's when insurance should come into play, not when you go to the doctor every day. So what happened over time is that since you had insurance dominate the market, which was number one subsidized by big government, you, number one, artificially increased the price of healthcare. This is what the mainstream media never talked about. The Republicans, unfortunately, did not talk about this at all. And they always kept on saying that you need to have, number one, interstate competition for healthcare, which is correct. You need to have that. But you need to also decrease the amount of rules and regulations so you can, number one, have a society like it was back in the day where people used to pay in cash. When people used to pay in cash, healthcare was much affordable. And many people don't understand this fact. And you're going to see the Republicans probably come up with some sort of bill down the road. And they did come up with some bills and an alternative to Obamacare. But that did not fundamentally fix the problem. The problem is too much government. What you need to do is get the government not completely out of the way. I would like to see completely out of the way. But so many people are dependent on healthcare right now and the government. So what you do is you cut the government out of the way, or cut government spending when it comes to healthcare, and allow, number one, more of these hospitals that accept cash. There's this one hospital that the mainstream media fails to acknowledge, and their name is the Surgical Center of Oklahoma. They only take cash, and they say that we're not going to take your insurance. So what people do is they go to their insurance companies saying that, hey, we want this paid, but pay it to me so I can reimburse the hospital. So in essence, what's going on is these individuals are using their insurance money to pay the bill, but they get money left over because that hospital is a lot cheaper than the rest of the hospitals out there. And once again, the mainstream media does not cover it. I mean, I saw John Stossel on Fox Business News mention it a few times, but for instance, you don't see it talked about on any of these channels. You don't see Larry Kudlow, a conservative, talk about it. You don't see any of these guys on the Weekly Standard talk about it. Drudge doesn't talk about it, even though I like Drudge. So that's something to note. And what also isn't talked about, under Medicaid or Medicare, these hospitals that accept this are not allowed to post prices. So if you don't know what you're paying for, then guess what? The prices are going to balloon out of control. And some people may say this is a conspiracy done by the big insurance lobby to, number one, jack up prices. It could be. Because if you know the prices, right, everyone could figure out, okay, we could find a better way to make prices go lower. But instead, because of this government distortion, you've seen healthcare prices skyrocket. So when it comes to this Obamacare fiasco now, we see big government saying that, hey, you know what? You could probably purchase your old insurance premiums, or you could purchase your old insurance plans, which sounds great on paper. But you have to remember the insurance companies already priced in Obamacare new regulations for premiums. So as a result, if you try to bring these old premiums into existence, it's going to create a chaos now. So you may see some individuals going back to their old plans. Obviously, they're going to probably have to pay more. But what is this going to do for the Obamacare exchanges? Well, when it comes to the Obamacare exchanges, well, less people are going to enroll in these exchanges. In order for this exchange to work, you need young, healthy individuals between the ages of 26 and 35 to enroll here. If they don't enroll, this Ponzi blows up in its face. I mean, if you look at Social Security, how it's set up, it was set up where there were a lot of individuals paying in. And that's what kept it somewhat solvent over the years. But now you're seeing a lot more retirees than people contributing. So that's where you're going to get the problem. See, Social Security is going to have a funding problem. You're going to see all these other government programs having a funding problem. But this Obamacare fiasco, it's going to have a huge funding problem down the road, or even right now, because no young, healthy person in their right mind is going to buy their premiums, because they could A, pay the small fine, or B, they could get it from one of these insurance companies that are going to charge less. So if you see that, this Obamacare legislation is going to be blown up. And it's unfortunate that many people in the mainstream media call people who talked about this racist, right? That's how they're able to get this through, by, number one, demeaning people. Even some mainline conservatives, I don't agree with them all the time, they were spot on, saying that this would destroy healthcare prices in America. It would make premiums go out of control. So if you're looking at this more government intervention, it's not going to work. And as a result, if you want to look at what Milton Friedman said, he even talked about, number one, if you use cash to pay your medical bills, prices would decrease. And no one listened to him, unfortunately. And his prediction was that this is going to lead to single payer. And in my opinion, if they don't get their act together, this will eventually lead to single payer. I mean, if you look at what the United States is doing, unfortunately, we're going hard left on economic policies. Some people may say, oh, Obama's a moderate. He's not a moderate. He's way to the left of many of these presidents out there. And unfortunately, if you see economic collapse, which I do see coming, people are going to probably want more government, unfortunately. And they're going to say insurance companies are evil, they're charging all this money. And as a result, we could see single payer, and that's my biggest fear, unfortunately. And a lot of people, they go to American hospitals for better treatment. But now, if the American hospitals are going to suffer because of more big government policies, then where's everyone going to go? I mean, only the rich people in America will be able to access healthcare because they could pay off the doctors. If you're a middle-class guy or lower middle-class guy down the road, well, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and comment below on what your thoughts about this Obamacare train wreck. And I'll talk to you another time, guys. Thanks a lot.